Okay, so good morning and welcome to lesson 6.4, elimination using multiplication. So far we've talked about a couple of different ways that we can solve systems of equations. If you can name one, raise your hand please. Right here, go. One. Substitution, another one. Graphing, another one. Yes. Graphing calculate. Elimination using subtraction. Elimination by addition, and now this is the last one, elimination by multiplication. So there are 6 ways. We cover 5 of them. Elimination using multiplication. In some systems of equations, they can't be solved simply by just adding or subtracting. In such cases, one of the equations, or sometimes even both, must be multiplied by a number before you can solve the system of equations. So basically what we're doing here is we're going to add a step in. To eliminate by multiplication, basically, when you look at the x's, they're not going to have the same variable. When you look at the y's, they're not going to have the same variable. When that presents, that's when you know you have to multiply. So it's kind of like a puzzle. Sometimes you may only have to multiply the top equation so that the x's can line up and have the same coefficients. Sometimes you have to multiply the bottom equation, and sometimes you have to actually multiply both equations. So let's take it nice and easy, and let's go through a couple of examples here together so that you can see what it is that's happening. So solving systems of equations by multiplication. Example number 1. X plus 10y equals 3, and 4x plus 5y equals 5. Now, when you take the test, or usually when you see these types of problems, 90% of the time, they're not going to tell you which method to choose. That's up to you. Now, if everybody inspects the x variables, one has a 1 in front of it, one has a 4. If you look at the y's, one has a 10 and one has a 5. So now you have a choice. Do you want to eliminate the x's or the y's? Who would like to eliminate the x's? Who would like to eliminate the y's? Okay, so let's eliminate the y variable. Let me just give you an asterisk. It's up to you. Which variable do you want to eliminate? And so we've chosen to eliminate the y variable. Okay, so now let's focus in on the y variable. The top one has a 10y, the bottom one has a 5y. So, is there anything you can multiply 10 by to get 5? And we're going to multiply by integers, not by fractions or decimals. No. Is there anything you can multiply 5 by to get 10? What is it, guys? 2. I'm going to propose, to make your life easy, that we multiply by -2 on the bottom equation. And the reason I chose -2 is so that then they're going to have the same coefficient and opposite signs, which means what? Then I can add or subtract. Add. So here we go. Let's rewrite it. X plus 10y equals 3, and a -2 times 4x plus 5y equals 5. Now the most important thing is you must multiply everything on both sides. Okay? So here we go. Let's go ahead and multiply. Let's see what we've got. And the book may have done it the notes may have done it a little bit differently, but that's okay. So this stays x plus 10y equals 3. And this becomes a negative 8x minus 10y equals negative 10. Somebody want to check that to make sure I didn't make a mistake? Is it correct? Okay. And now we decided we are going to add the two equations because the y variables have same coefficient and opposite signs. Okay? So we're going to add. So we're going to put that right there. X plus a negative 8x is a negative 7x. 10y plus a negative 10y is 0. And 3 plus a negative 10 is a negative 7. Divide each side by negative 7, and we get x equals what, guys?
1.
X equals 1. Okay, so now we're ready to find y. And we find y by substituting 1 in for x to either top or bottom original equations. Which one do you want, top or bottom, guys? Top. X plus 10y equals 3. Plus 10y equals 3. Subtract 1 from each side. You get 10y equals 2. Divide each side by 10, and you get y equals 1/5. So your ordered pair here is 1, 1/5. What do you think you should do now? Yes? Check it by putting the numbers back in. Does anybody have a question on example number 1? Okay. Yes? How did I get the negative 2? Okay, so let's just realize that elimination by multiplication is a two-step process. The first thing you have to do is you have to multiply either the top, the bottom, or both equations by a number, okay, so that you can force either the x's or the y's to have the same coefficient, same sign, subtract, or same coefficient, opposite sign, add. And the reason we chose to multiply by negative 2 instead of positive 2, now you could have multiplied by positive 2. We chose to multiply by negative 2, so in my next step I could add the two equations instead of subtract. Well, it's like a puzzle, so we have to make it fit. So if you want the y variables to be the same, and one is 10 and one is 5, the easiest thing to multiply by, if you multiply the bottom by 2 or negative 2, then they're both going to have a 10y. Does that help? Okay, yes?
If you solve the computation with the variables here, how would you know whether or not to multiply with everything at the top? Like if it's going to show, is there any other
Not necessarily at this point. You're the one that's multiplying first, and then you choose. So if you multiplied by a positive 2, you would subtract. If these were opposite signs right here from the beginning, then you would know you're probably going to add. Does that help? Okay, let's try another one. Example number 2. 3x minus 2y equals negative 7. 2x minus 5y equals 10. Solve the system of equations. Okay, in this particular example, let's look at the x's. Is there anything I can multiply 3 by to get 2? Is there anything I can multiply 2 by to get 3? Is there anything I can multiply, look at the y's, 2 by to get 5, 5 to get 2. All right, so then you have a choice here. You decide, do you want to eliminate x or y, and you must multiply the top equation by the coefficient of the bottom, and the bottom equation by the coefficient of the top. Because look, if you multiplied these two numbers together, 2 times 3 gives you what? 6. What do I have to multiply 3 by to get 6? 2, which happens to be the coefficient of the bottom equation. What do I have to multiply 2 by to get 6? Which happens to be the coefficient of the top equation. Does that make sense? I know that's a little wordy. What if you wanted to eliminate the y's? What would you multiply by? The top by? And the bottom by? Now, again, you have a choice. Do you want to multiply? And so let me just go on record as saying this. The choice is totally yours. Most teachers are going to say, if they don't have opposite signs, then multiply by a negative number so you can add. Sometimes pre-algebra and algebra 1 students, teachers say, multiply by a positive number so you don't make a mistake when you're multiplying by negatives. So the choice is totally yours. Do you understand? Okay, so obviously these are both positive, the x's, the y's are both negative, so now we need to decide. Are we going to get rid of the x's or the y's, guys? What do you want to do? X, do you want to multiply by positive or negative numbers? All right, let's multiply the top by what? 2, and multiply the bottom by 3. I'm okay with that. And that's how I would do my first step, and then I do a rewrite, which would give me 6x minus 4y equals negative 14. Is that correct? And then 6x minus 15y equals 30. Is that correct? Okay, so now, once you do that, it's exactly yesterday's lesson. God bless you. Nothing has changed. So now we're ready to subtract. And bless you again and again. Don't get sick. Okay, 6x minus 6x is 0. A negative 4y minus a negative 15y is a negative 4 plus 15, which gives me what? A positive 11y. And a negative 14 minus 30 is a negative what? Negative 44. Now what's the next step? What do I do to each side? There's a lot of math here. There's a lot of places where you can make a really, really careless error. And I encourage you to use your calculators. Y equals negative 4. Now we want to find x. So go back to one of the original equations to find x. Which one do you want to use, top or bottom? Top. 3x minus 2y equals negative 7. We're going to plug in a negative 4. 3x minus 2 times negative 4 equals negative 7. 3x plus 8 equals negative 7. Minus 8 minus 8. 3x equals negative 15. X equals negative 5. So your ordered pair is negative 5, negative 4. Does anybody have a question? Yes? That's fine. There's lots of different ways to do it. Absolutely. All right. What I want to do is give you an opportunity to start some of this homework so that way I can answer any questions. So let's look at what I've assigned. I believe I assigned page 26, 1 through 14 all. we're not gonna do that. That's just a little, those are just some more word problems. What did I give you, 13 and 14? And 17, okay. I'm gonna reduce some of the first part for you, because that's a lot. So we'll do one practice, we'll do 1 through, let's do 1 through 6, 13. Hold on, I'm still recording.